Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox on YouTube Live this morning. So grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is happening. Woohoo! I hear my voice. Just a second here. I don't know why that doesn't stay muted for me, but good morning to you all. And I'm so glad to be back here on YouTube Live. It was kind of funny because yesterday, it turns out I cannot connect with Restream to the system for Oneness Talk Radio. So all of the changes I made were for nothing. And it's just kind of unique. Something that happens, of course, in a Mercury retrograde or in the shadow of the Mercury retrograde. Things just don't ever turn out quite like you think they're going to. So you just be open and you just go with the flow, right? That's all I could really do about it. So checking in this morning, I see Amy and J-Lo. She says, hello, Astro family. And thank you very much, Amy. Today, we don't really have a whole lot to talk about. We've already, talked a lot about Mercury in retrograde or going into retrograde. The moon isn't doing much of anything today, but I thought I went looking for specific information that we hadn't already talked about as far as Mercury retrograde. And I did find something interesting that I want to be able to share with everybody this morning. Good morning, Elisa and Monique and Mimi. It's great to see you all popping in here this morning. And anyway, so I want to share some new information. It's new to me, new to you maybe, on Mercury retrograde. And then we'll talk about the Pleiadian Earth energy of the day and a little bit about the moon in Taurus. And I think that will be it for us today. So this would be a great day if you have questions to pop those in the chat and I can work through a few of those. Let's see, there's a weird void feeling in New York. There's a weird feeling everywhere, J-Lo. I'm so glad to hear that I'm not the only one feeling it. I had an opportunity this morning to look at my solar return, which actually happens tomorrow at 2 in the afternoon. Sort of weird, but I forgot we had a leap year this year, so it adds a day to the whole return, and or subtracts a day, I should say. And it freaked me out. It really did. It freaked me out, and I was like, ay, 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 I should not look at it because I don't have the same filter. If it was your chart and I'm looking at it, I'm stepped back, I'm objective, but if it's my own, I get too close to it and I just sort of freaked out. So then ever since then, this morning, I've just felt that sort of weird feeling. Now the moon isn't in void. I think the problem with that feeling, it's not that it's a problem, but that the feeling comes from Mercury, who we're used to having, move through the zodiac at a fairly good clip, is slowed down and darn near at a standstill right now as he turns retrograde my time tonight, 9:52 p.m. So just a little less than or a little more than 12 hours. For you all on the East Coast, he will turn retrograde at 2:35 in the morning. So or 2:52 in the morning, excuse me. So it's not that noticeable, I think, for those of you there. But what we're feeling right now is that planet really slowing down, from not technically slowing down, but from our standpoint here, not making much move. So it doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room for communication or for getting things done, maybe. So we're kind of in that, maybe that space between the in-breath and the out-breath that, when we're breathing is just, minuscule in time, but for all of us experiencing this is going to feel a little longer and a little bit more noticeable, let's say. So we've got some new people here. Marcella Camacho, I haven't seen you either in a long time or I knew. Thank you for joining us. Daily Spiritual Vlog, feeling off in Colorado too. Camilla, good morning. So it seems to be, good morning, Terry, good to see you. The energy, I think, is literally just because of that slowing down of Mercury at this particular moment, and being my ruling planet, being, in the sign of Cancer, which is my rising sign, then, of course I would sort of tap into all of that. So it's good to see that other people are tapping into it as well. And of course that probably will sort of linger with us through the day today, as nothing really big changes until much later in the day, pretty much, as we're going to bed on the West Coast and as you're already asleep on the East Coast. When we wake up tomorrow, of course, then the moon will be, I think the moon changes over to Taurus or to Gemini tomorrow afternoon. And then we're out of the shadow of Mercury retrograde is done because we're now in the retrograde, but now we're in the shadow of the solar eclipse on Saturday or Sunday, bridging over the 2 days. So it's like out of the frying pan and into the fire. So we have several things, from this part of the week on through Sunday that should keep us busy and keep us hopping. So today the moon is in Taurus. Taurus is our common sense, earthy practicality kind of sign. It's very sensual. We talked about the details more of the moon in Taurus yesterday. But here we have today, adding to the moon in Taurus, is Mercury slowing down to his retrograde station. And it may be that communication slows down. It may be that communication becomes more ambiguous and more difficult to understand. We have two reasons why that may happen. One, the moon in Taurus is in a sextile to Mercury, as well as a sextile to Neptune. So Mercury in retrograde or slowing down to retrograde, and Neptune already makes things hard to understand, hard to pin down. The veil, right? There's this veil that we have to kind of push through before we can see clearly. So definitely today, and maybe even for the next day or two, are not going to be great days to make big decisions because you aren't seeing things clearly. And literally with the Mercury in retrograde, we don't make big decisions anyway, unless they've already been in the works. Or if you're following your human design and you know exactly what it feels like, or intuition, what it looks like, or your instincts when they're triggered to make good decisions, then you can make those decisions. But it may be, that we just hold off for a little bit before we make any giant moves. It's why when I decided to do the Oneness Radio, I made the decision weeks ago, and yet I set it up to start during a Mercury retrograde, but also with the solar eclipse new moon, so that I would be in the flow of that energy, even though Mercury appears to be moving backwards. So we might have to work a little harder today to understand one another, to get heard, to be recognized or valued for our contributions. And that may be even that you're not understanding someone else very clearly. And you may not be really, someone can be talking to you and giving you instructions, and it's like it just didn't translate. Have you ever had that feeling like somebody's telling you something and you're like, wait, whoa, 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 can you go back and say that again? Because I totally missed that. That's the feeling that we might have today and tomorrow as Mercury begins to move retrograde. We may also have skewed perceptions. In other words, we might not be seeing things clearly, a situation, an outcome, a person, and we're not seeing clearly because Mercury's in retrograde at that point in time, but also because of the sextile of the moon to Neptune, where it's real easy to think what someone says, to think what someone means, and really have missed the mark. It's very simple to do that, very easy to do that. So we want to be very clear in our communication. If you do not understand something that someone has said to you, don't just pretend that you understood, shaking your head yes, like you understand, but then behind the scenes you're going, I have no clue what they just said. Ask for clarity, right? Ask for clarity. If you need clarity, get clarity, because otherwise the whole ignoring the need for clarity can take you into a zone that you don't really want to be in, right? Where you mess something up, or you do something incorrectly, or you, risk getting yourself or someone else in trouble because you really didn't listen. So listening, one of those skills we really need these days, listening. So let's just run down some of the details about Mercury's retrograde. Just a reminder, Mercury is retrograde starting this evening or tomorrow morning until July 12th. And he is retrograding from 14 degrees of Cancer backward to 5 degrees of Cancer. So wherever that 5 to 14 degrees is, or the 14 to 5 degrees is in your own natal chart in the sign of Cancer, that's the area of your life where slowdowns, miscommunication, or problems can erupt if you're not staying on top of things. Mercury will be in the shadow, the retro shade of his retrograde until July 26th, and will finally leave Cancer on August 4th. So we have this extended period of time where we are dealing with Mercury in Cancer. And Cancer, then, remember, is the sign of mother, of nurturing or smothering, depending on which end of the scale you're at. And it is a sign of safety and security. It is one of the signs that is sort of likes to be the center of attention, but would much rather be behind the scenes. So we may be playing around for the next few weeks with this idea of being seen and then backing off. We may come to something from the side road and not straight on. So this is a time for us to get more in tune with home and family and our foundations. The moon is the ruler of the sign of Cancer. So I fully expect moodiness, ups and downs, and in the emotional field, and the opportunity for us to become more clear about our emotional field. We could say that this would be a good time to complete a more powerful emotional, or to get a more clear emotional quotient, right? We have IQ, intellectual quotient. This would be having a more clear idea of what our emotional impact is. How smart are we emotionally? Are we still in reaction? Or are we stopping ourselves from that reaction and getting more into responding to what is showing up? So we'll have many opportunities for that. I guarantee it for the next couple of weeks. Now, Mercury in retrograde, if we drew up a chart for the moment that Mercury turns retrograde, what we would see is there are no major aspects that the planet is making. So we're kind of in the clear as far as, not having any other major filters to deal with. Like if Mercury was conjunct Uranus or in a square to Uranus at this time, it might be, trouble. We might have some really upsetting things that happen. So we're in the clear that way. But I was looking for information that was of a different nature this morning, and I found that this Mercury retrograde will be sitting at the degree of Sirius, the fixed star. We sometimes call it the dog star, and also the asteroid Metis. Metis, remember, we have her as a goddess in our goddess deck. She is the goddess of wisdom. And what we'll do here this morning is I'm going to show you the chart and where those bodies are, and give you an opportunity then to understand those a little bit more. First, let's go back here, see if there are any comments and questions. Ursula, you are the Oracle of Wisdom. Patricia Woods, hello, and thank you very much. And thank you, sweetheart. Augustina, hi, everybody. Thank you very much. Camilla, thank you. And her birthday's on Saturday. We are almost cosmic twins there, Camilla. And there we have it. So thank you guys for the birthday wishes a little bit early, but I love it. Thank you very much. Now, let us take a look then at the chart. So let me make sure it's up here. And then I will share my screen and you guys can see. Ooh, I almost hit something else. Disconnect. There we go. So here we have the chart of the day. This is the chart I drew up at 7:18 my time this morning, as I realized, I want to add Sirius and Metis to the game. And here they are, sitting right here at this part of the chart with Mercury at 14 degrees 45 minutes. He turns retrograde at 14:52, so you can see how close we are. And then there's Sirius here at 14:21, and Metis sits at 13:45. Now, a fixed star is just that. It's fixed. It doesn't move through the sky. So it is sitting here, always. So any planet that passes over 14 degrees 21 minutes of of Cancer is moving across the sign or the fixed star Sirius. Now, stars are fixed. These kind of stars are fixed, but they also precess. So they do sort of move. I think it is every 72 years, they'll move 1 degree. So likely almost all of us sitting here on the planet together have this in the same place in our chart. And that would be at about 1420 or so of Cancer. And Metis, same sort of idea. She's far flung, sitting at possibly around 1345 of Cancer. So that puts them right on top of the sign, or right on top of Mercury retrograde in the sign of Cancer. So I thought, oh, okay, well, let's see what we can find out about Sirius first. So Sirius is a fixed star, and it represents keywords. Every planet point sign has keywords. Now, because I'm not an expert on fixed stars and of some of these other, bodies, I am looking at other websites and so forth to find the keywords because it's totally new to me. So I'm bringing it to you without much background knowledge on my own part, but I thought it was interesting. Sirius represents honor and renown, sort of that fame and being well known for something, wealth and passion. They're guardians. This is a guardian energy. Remember, we have in our new galactic deck Sirius, and we've actually pulled a couple of cards from the Galactic Heritage deck that were related to Sirius. In fact, I think on Monday we drew one for Sirius. So it's an important fixed star. I know of it because of the ancient Egyptians, and they followed the dog star or Sirius. When Sirius had his heliacal rising, which means the first time you see it above the horizon in front of the sun, it meant to the Egyptians that it was their flood season. So it was their time of fertility. It represented things coming into fullness. And so they were very aware of this fixed star. I think in a lot of traditions, wisdom traditions, this idea of Sirius, the dog star, is very much prominent. In Western astrology, not so much. Maybe Eastern astrology, I'm not sure about that. And in other astrologies, we use it periodically. I think Western astrology is probably by far the one that uses this particular point the most. Now, conjunct Mercury, what does it mean? Well, conjunct Mercury, it's great for business success. And it is you receiving help through influential people. So if there's someone that can help you and influence you, then with Mercury conjunct that, it's likely to show up in your world. There are always the less positive sides. And one of that is when Sirius and Mercury come into conjunction, there's more worry. There's, a tendency to use the mind to worry unnecessarily. And it also can point to accidents. So I wonder if there's some kind of blindness sort of that happens with us where, or blindness, a blind spot in our consciousness, perhaps, when Mercury conjuncts Sirius. So be very aware of your surroundings, who you're with, what you're doing. Take very good care if you're using anything, any tools, or if you're driving, if your mind is wandering while you're trying to do something like run a saw or something, you might be prone to an accident. So take it easy. It's not like Mars, though, where Mars, it's anger and frustration that comes out in that kind of thing that causes accidents. In Mercury, with Mercury, it is the wandering of the mind and not being fully present in every moment. And that can cause the possibility of accidents. So when you find Cancer in your chart, you'll also know that you can kind of connect, if not visually, you can connect mentally to the placement of Ceres and Metis. Now, if you, I'll show you something here. Let me see, how can I show that to you? Let's go here and I'll close that out. Let's go to my Astro. Are you guys seeing the changes in my screen? Because I don't know if you are or not, but I will try to catch up here in a minute with you. We'll use my own chart. We'll go here to extended chart selection. And I'm showing you where it is that you can find Sirius and the goddess Metis in your program in this Astro program. So if you come over here to additional objects and you click on that, when I opened this up this morning, it says additional objects with a plus sign. If you click on the plus sign, then it brings a multiple selection possible screen, and over here, a manual entry screen. So if you scroll down through the additional objects, let me check with someone real quick and make sure you're seeing that screen for me. Yes, I can see that you guys are seeing it. Good, good. Let me go back here then. No, I don't want to go there. I want to go here. Okay, so if you scroll down here, you'll see there are fixed stars. And if you scroll down, you'll find Sirius. Now in my program, and I'm using a PC, I click the control button and then I can click on Sirius and select it. I'm not sure if that's how it works if you're on a Mac, but mostly if you're working on a PC, you just click Control. And I'm also using Google Chrome as my browser, so it may work differently in other browsers. So Control click on Sirius, that selects it to be shown up in the chart. And then over here in the manual entry, type the number 9, and that will bring up Metis. And then once you've done that, click to show the chart. And I don't need to really do that. I want to go back to this chart, the chart of the moment. And hopefully you're seeing that now. And voila, Siri and Metis, right? Now let's talk about the goddess Metis, because she's an interesting character and I want to learn more about her. Here she is sitting at the, almost the midpoint of Cancer, the sign of the mother, the great mother. And here we have the goddess, mother of wisdom, prudence, magical cunning. She's also a trickster figure. So I find her interesting. She was the first wife of Jupiter, and she is also our friend Pallas Athena's mother. So Pallas Athena was the daughter of Jupiter / Zeus, right? They're the same, Roman and Greek. And Metis was her mother. So Pallas Athena. So we have this theme going on here. She's a power goddess. She's a bit of a warrior goddess, but she's a warrior for wisdom. She's a warrior for prudence. She's a warrior for using magic in a way that is spectacular. And in her, conjunct Mercury, I would imagine that we have to slow our minds down to really use wisdom and not reaction in anything that we do over the next few weeks. So there we have that. And of course, Mercury is going to retrograde now back over Ceres and Metis and get to the 5-degree mark right here. Then move forward again after July 12th and come back across them. So we're going to have a couple of experiences of this energy, and it will be fun if you just sort of journal that so that you have an idea of, oh, okay, this is what happens when Mercury is retrograde over those particular spots. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I bet people have some questions. Let's see what's going on over here. And questions. Cancer in the 11th house for me with Chiron at 1 degree. So your Chiron will not be hit by Mercury retrograde, luckily. There is the possibility, I would say, for you, Amy, of enlarging your or broadening your connection with spiritual types, or there may be a sense that of pulling away for a bit, maybe becoming more behind the scenes a little bit and watching and waiting to see what goes on. Then there's also the possibility that this is the house of wishes and hopes and dreams. And that could mean, hold on, I have to tell my granddaughter something. Today is my girls' day, and she's asking me if I want a coffee, because after this, I'm heading over to my daughter's house and then we're heading out for the day. And my granddaughter works for Starbucks. So anyway, sorry about that. So let's go back to your 11th house, Amy, because that is such a powerful place for dreaming and vision. So when I think of the 11th house, when the sun moves through the 11th house, we have a time period where we are in what is her name? Jan Spiller calls this power wish period. And in this power wish period, it's where whatever it is that's uppermost in your mind is being delivered very quickly, manifesting very quickly. So there's almost a sense here for you to be very careful what you're focusing your thoughts on, because if you're focusing your thoughts on the negative, then you're possibly bringing that to you much quicker than usual. And of course, Mercury would already have you looking at what's going on in your mind, right? What's going on in your mind. Okay, so let's see other comments here. Monique has a great question. Hey, Terry, thanks for keeping me on track. Monique says, so Mercury in the first house during retrograde means a reevaluation of YOU, Monique. What's going on with you, your personality, your looks, what you love, what you don't love. It has a lot to do with you looking at the contents of your mind in relation to what you're creating in your personality for you personally. Thank you. Kamal, good morning. And Laura Wolfberg, good morning. Happy Gemini birthday, Janet, celebrated yesterday. Happy birthday, Laura. Tomorrow is Debbie Hedden's birthday. I haven't seen her in here lately, but we could say happy birthday to her tomorrow. And somebody else has my birthday that comes and joins in here. Angela Mather Keel has my birth. We share the same birthday. J-Lo, oh wow, my daughter just came to me asking me about her. She is 15 and love it. And I'm not sure if she asked you about Metis or something else. Kamal says, Janet, Mercury retrograde means business success, right? It was that Mercury retrograde, Kamal, will be conjunct Sirius. And so the potential is for business success. But with a Mercury retrograde, there may be some adjustments that you have to make in order to really get to that success. And I think that's the willingness to be able to be flexible, adaptable, to make changes to join that. So yes, definitely. J-Lo, I have Sirius in the first at 13 and Saturn is there also at 13 in Cancer. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So Sirius dog star business. So we have, what was that? Honor, wealth, passion. I forgot to tell you guys this, the negative side of Sirius as a fixed star, get this, watch for resentments. Okay, there's that. But also dog bites. I thought that was funny. I actually found that in another website on Sirius itself. So for you, I would say, Jack or J-Lo, that there is this need that you have to find passion through the discipline of Saturn. I hope that makes sense for you. And J-Lo says, yes, Metis. Okay, she started reading in mythology and is highly happy. Awesome. I have a book on mythology. I want to say it's Bulward or something like that. And there are so many different stories in there. It's just absolutely fabulous. And I would recommend, I'll find the name of the book. Maybe I'll even bring it tomorrow morning and show it to you guys. It's fascinating, some of the stories you see in there about these gods and goddesses. You know, and there are lots of different stories. I mean, there's no one story about Metis or about Pallas Athena or any of them for that matter. I mean, there's all these different colorful things that they live out in their godliness that I think is so funny. Anyway, so I'll show you guys that book tomorrow. Okay, so now let's talk about the gates in your human design that Mercury will be sitting at. And I think we did bring this up the week before I left on vacation, but it's worth bringing up again. The planet Mercury, because he has been slowing down, has been spending an inordinate amount of time at one gate. And literally through this period of time, he spends most of his time at two gates. Gate 39, which is sitting on the emotional center, on the root center leading over to the emotional center. And it is the gate of provocation. It is a gate where we find the places where we are out of alignment with the truth of spirituality, with the truth of our divine personage, and we realign, right? We come back into alignment with abundance. We come back into alignment with divine right timing. We come into alignment with being in the now and understanding more and more of our emotional energy. So we have that going on. Provocation is interesting because that particular gate can be other people provoking you, or you being the provocateur for someone else. And in some cases, it's uncomfortable. So when you're around someone that you might feel uncomfortable with, or when someone says something to you that, kind of like a little dig, a little trigger, it's a possibility they're playing the role of provocateur. And then it would be up to you then to take that feeling or those words and then apply them to yourself in a way that helps you explore what that really means for you. Why is that showing up in your world? I had a conversation with a friend yesterday, sort of around the same thing. And being able to take your life and understand what is happening. And it doesn't happen easily sometimes, right? Sometimes we have to really look deep. We have to keep uncovering everything and looking at those layers and just to discover what is the true meaning. And whether that's an illness or whether that is a repeating pattern, whether that is a person or different persons, but the same experience. For example, it's a great one to look at personal relationships, like when we're in marriage or when we're in significant other type relationships, but throughout your relationships, you keep getting cheated on or you keep getting, broken up via another person. What does that mean for you? I think sometimes we're so willing to blame the other person for what's going on that we don't look in here and go, I'm the common denominator here, right? I'm the common denominator in all of these problems or all of these perceived problems and issues. So it's time for me to call that in and to look at what's happening for me. So anything right now that you're being provoked by, or persons that are provoking you, or for other people who out there are getting provoked by someone else or getting provoked by you, take a look within, right? Take a look within. This is about finding the pathway to emotional health. I think that's the biggest one. This particular gate 39, when it connects to 55, and right now there's nothing transit-wise that's connecting that for us, but when it connects like that, it can also be the emotional patterns that we develop. Emotional overeating, for example, comes through that 3955. Emotional ups and downs, right? That feeling of sort of being bipolar, getting into that deep well of depression, and then that being followed by the rise to mania or total joy. That can be sometimes misread as bipolar when it's really just this channel operating in your human design. And it gives us that rhythmic pattern of going within into the quiet and then coming out to the more outward expression of your creative energies. Now, the other gate that Mercury will spend a long period of time at is the gate 52. And the gate 52 is a gate that is called stillness in its highest expression. In its gift, it's restraint. In its lowest expression, it is stress. And here with Mercury sitting here at this gate, I think sometimes it's about the monkey mind, right? The mind going on and on and on and on and thinking in and thinking on and thinking out and, going backwards in thoughts and, all of those things that we think of as monkey mind. And our ability, in fact, the shadow is that stress that comes from the monkey mind, where if we can restrain our thoughts, and I wanted to almost reword this as retrain ourselves to be more quiet minded, to be more peaceful in our thoughts, to be more in meditative state. And you can do that in any number of ways, getting out in nature, maybe doing yoga, maybe meditation practices, chanting, mudras, which are hand, things that you do, can bring us to that space. So I think, we're going to have some issues. I don't know the dates. Let me give you the date when it shifts over. July. So from now until July 2nd, we are at the gate 39 with Mercury. So provoking and being provoked. And then on Tuesday, or is that Tuesday? Thursday, July 2nd, we move into the gate 52 all the way through July 21st. And then we go back to gate 39 with Mercury moving forward again. And then finally at the end of July, he moves into a new set of gates in his transits. So 39 and 52. So 52, hearing the call of silence, hearing the call of quiet, restraining or retraining your mind to quietness and solitude, finding stillness, right? So many people, and I watch this all the time in my own family with various people, they can't just sit and can't just be quiet. Can't, so we're having to retrain ourselves, I think, a bit with this time to just be in the stillness with one another and to not have that crazy making stressful time. So that, I hope, is something everybody can benefit from during this Mercury retrograde. Okay, comments. Anybody have any other questions? I don't see anything new here. So let's go on to the Pleiadian Earth energy of the day. And today we are at the 9. So let me just, for a reminder, tell you what these two pieces are of the Pleiadian Earth energy or Pleiadian Earth astrology. The number represents the universal energy of the day. So no matter what life form you are, no matter what planet you're on or what star system you're from, universally, we are all resonating to the number 9 today. And this is about bringing in harmonious interconnections with one another. So harmonious interconnection, where it's not me and you, it is we, right? It is where we are all together in this, on this blue planet, in this universe, in this dimension, and we are all focusing on interconnection, cooperation. This is a great day to work toward peace, right? To being able to see everybody's viewpoints. Then today's Earth energy is seeing, and seeing energy in the Mayan calendar was men. It was a representation of the eagle. It was sometimes represented by, you see height, right? So that you're being able, you get the idea of seeing from a higher perspective. So we're moving more toward our highest aspirations with this day. And what are our higher aspirations? So for example, Amy, with your 11th house, Cancer, what are your higher aspirations? What will fill you up and what will make you happy? How do you nurture yourself? That could be another question you ask. Today has visionary energy about it, the ability to step back and see the big picture, and also the ability to come in and see the details, right? So the eagle or men energy or seeing energy sees the whole picture and how all the parts on the chessboard are moving together, as well as being able to see the details and how they're all interconnected. So today we have an opportunity to see both ourselves and what's going on in the world from a larger perspective. Interesting conversation I was having yesterday with a friend who lives in Switzerland. And we were talking, we're both Geminis. Her birthday was earlier in the month. So we just get together on Zoom and we're chit-chatting. And we start talking about things as they are here in the US. She lived in the US for quite a long time, but she's a native of Switzerland and had to go back home for a while. And she was able, where I cannot always see, the rightness of what is happening in this country. So from her perspective, sitting over there in Europe, looking back at the US where she has also lived, she can see how all of this is necessary in order to lead us to where we need to go. And sometimes I think that's true in our own lives where we're so close and we can't really see the rightness of what's happening or why something is happening. We have to step back. So on a day like today, we can be more objective, perhaps, right? We can step out of our own personal story, our own personal problems, and we can see the bigger picture. How wonderful would that be to see yourself, your role with your family members, the role that you have in your community, the role that you're playing in the world, and the rightness of it, right? The rightness of your personal path, as well as anybody else's. We could look at the one person that seems to create a lot of havoc in our lives, and we could see the rightness of what that person is teaching us or providing for us. And that's not always possible when we're too close. So stepping back, but then we also have to be able to come closer to see what the details of that picture look like, to see that everything is filled in the way it should be. So it's an interesting day, I think, but one where we can, if we're willing to, we can really lean into harmony and to cooperation, working more and more toward peace. And that becomes an inside job, right? Peace starts within. And if we can come to that peace within ourselves, if we can calm our mind and get to stillness and restraint, then we have an opportunity to be able to see that mirrored back to us in the outer world. So that's the way it goes, right? As above, so below, as within, so without. What goes on in here, if you're all in turmoil, then the filter that is but in front of you is that of turmoil. So you see the world in those terms. But when you're at peace and you're in joy and you're in love, then the outer world reflects back to you that same energy of joy and peace and stillness. So it's an interesting world. It's magical. It has a lot of fun ways of our being able to look at what's going on in our lives instead of believing that we're the victims of everything that's happening in our outer lives. Amanda, good morning. And let's see. All right. Well, I am done for this morning. I have nothing else, no big things going on. Tomorrow we'll start transitioning into talking about the new moon and the solar eclipse and looking at where that might be going on in people's charts. We'll talk about that. And tomorrow we also have a Mars sextile Pluto. That's a pretty powerful transit as well. And be prepared for maybe some, power struggles going on in the world. And if you like this video, please like it, thumbs up it, share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, subscribe down below, and help me get this channel flying high. In the meantime, take care, everybody. Have a great day. I will see you tomorrow. Mwah! Bye for now.